Good evening. I'll call our regular council meeting on Monday, March 9th to order at 6 p.m. I'm Mayor McNeil Smith. Colleagues at the council table are to my far right, Councillor Duck, Councillor Duncan, Councillor Garnett, to my immediate right, Councillor Rintoul, and Councillor O'Keefe. Councillor Novick will not be attending this evening's meeting. I'll next turn to respectfully acknowledging that we are holding our meeting in the territory of the WSÁNEĆ people, and we acknowledge the Tsawout Nation, the Tsartlip Nation, the BOİLAWS Nation, the Tseycum Nation, and the Malahat Nation. In turning to approval of the agenda, since it was published last Thursday, we just have one addition. We've received an email from Jamie Welburn, and that will go under the Committee of the Whole speed limit recommendations. And with that, I would seek movers to approve our agenda.
Point of order, Mayor. I believe there were 3 total emails.
Sorry, actually, my apologies. My apologies, there were 3, and I did look at them. So with that, if I could have movers to approve the agenda as amended with 3 additional letters. As Councillor Duck.
Second.
Councillor Garnett. Any changes or discussion? Seeing none, those in favor? That carries unanimous, thank you. And if I could have movers to approve both the regular council meeting minutes of February 23rd and the special council meeting minutes of March 2nd. Councillor Duck.
Second.
Councillor Garnett. Any corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, those in favor? Thank you, that carries unanimous. We have no items under number 5 and 6. And so next under 7, we'll turn to public participation, where we invite members of the public to come forward to address council. We actually ask that you keep your remarks to 4 minutes, that you provide your name and the municipality that you reside in or the organization that you represent. And for speakers, there's just a little button at the bottom of the microphone. You'll see a red light come on to help record it as part of our meeting this evening. And I'll call for a first time anyone wishing to come forward. Good evening. And it's also adjustable in height.
Good evening. My name is Joan Summer. I live on Cleveland Road in Sydney, and I'm here to represent the Friends of Sydney Park Society. Tonight, Council will be reviewing and voting on a staff report regarding our proposal to remove invasive plants from Sydney parks on a volunteer basis. I would like to thank town staff for putting together and submitting the report so quickly. We had thought to start small, for example, the 3rd Street Beach Access Park. However, staff are suggesting we work in Brother Park or Ray Creek Park. That would be a very large project for us until we have more confirmed volunteers. But if that's what it takes to get started, we're in. Safety is a major concern for the town. We will use only hand tools such as large and small pickaxes, shovels, loppers, secateurs, handsaw, bins, a wagon for transporting tools, and of course we will have a first aid kit and safety supplies on site. I will be here to answer any further questions you may have regarding our proposal. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward this evening. I'll turn to the next speaker. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Patricia Stevens. I'm here in my capacity as the board president for the Peninsula Celebration Society. So you will have circulated our first annual report. Pleased to do that. Secondly, I wanted to announce that going forward, we're going to partner with the Legion on the annual Remembrance Day Parade and Ceremony for the Fallen, further strengthening relationships between community organizations. As our events grow, so does participation, and that's good news. For example, attendance at the Sparkles Holiday Parade continues to increase. In 2025, we had 73 floats, over 1,000 float participants, and at least 4,000 spectators. While this speaks to the event's success, it also brings increased traffic, safety, and crowd management pressures. To help manage those impacts and to kick off the holiday spirit in a welcoming way, we're requesting council support for a new event. A holiday tree lighting mix and mingle. It would be held at Mary Winspear from 6 to 8 p.m. after the parade. The event would include outdoor caroling, a tree lighting, and indoor activities would have music, family dancing, refreshment stations, a photo booth, and of course, what's Christmas without an ugly sweater contest? The goal is to create a warm, inclusive space where people can linger, connect, and celebrate together while easing pressures from the after-parade impact. As a first-year event, obtaining sponsorship is challenging. We're requesting up to $5,000 in one-time funding. I want to be very clear about accountability. Any unused funds will be returned, and a full financial accounting will be provided. We also have a clear plan to offset costs as much as possible. We're suggesting a $10 donation, with 50% going to the food bank. And we'll continue to seek sponsorship, both in-kind support from vendors, along with a title sponsor, a presenting sponsor, and reduced rates from bands and caroling groups. I believe this is on your next budget meeting, but I wanted to just speak to it. So thank you for supporting events that strengthen community, enhance safety, and bring people together. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens, for coming forward this evening. Thank you for sharing the good news publicly of the partnership with the Legion. That I know that's welcome around the community, and congratulations on that. And thank you. You are correct that while we have had one budget meeting, we'll be having another budget meeting next week. We'll be giving consideration to your item and others during that process. So thank you again.
Great, thank you.
I'll look to the next speaker to come forward. Good evening. Just a little button at the bottom there.
I thought blue meant go, not red. Good evening, Mayor and Council. On February 23rd, a late agenda item was added to the record.
Just interject for a moment, if you could provide your name, please.
Oh, geez, sorry, that's the top thing here.
Yeah.
Rob Simon, 9942 3rd Street.
Well, you know who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. On February 23rd, a late item was added to the regular council agenda meeting. It's the 9972 3rd Street project. It's unfortunate that a project of this scope was permitted to be discussed without adequate notification to the public. On February 23rd, none of the neighbors were present to speak to the project, unlike the approximate 24 members of our neighborhood that spoke to this item when it was on the agenda on September 8th, 2025, when there was enough notification. I strongly suspect that the late nature of this proposal being added to the agenda meant that no concerned neighbor was able to address council. I know for a fact I would have attended the meeting, I would have addressed council, I knew this was on the item on the agenda. I cannot tell you how disappointed I am that the project of this magnitude and as controversial has been permitted to be added to the council agenda at the last minute. The builders use the language transparent. Those words appear to be hollow. That is why I'm here tonight, trying to play catch up and respectfully engage council to continue to stress our concern. This project is simply the wrong density for the wrong location. Changing the zoning from R6R to R7 changes the coverage up to 55% of the actual lot, changes the height from 12 meters to 16 meters, 3 floors to 4 floors. It's effectively a gift to the developer. When the developer talks about economic sustainability, I ask why not 65 units opposed to 75? That means a break even will likely occur, but maybe 1 or 2 years later. This project has gone to the advisory committee, and I've learned that there does not appear to be a mechanism for the public to provide comments to this committee directly. That's why I'm here today. I find that concerning. I'd ask council to revisit the terms of reference for that committee and consider providing a mechanism for the public to address it. But that's not the most important reason why I'm here. The mayor asked on that evening, what about the cherry trees? Everyone's talking about those big cypresses. The cherry trees are right on our property line. The parkade abuts it, goes down. We'll lose about half the root system. We love our cherry trees. That's why I'm asking, why can't they push back the project 1 meter, 100 centimeters? Ideally, 3 meters, 6 feet, the height of me. That way we could possibly save our tree. I find it ironic that we have a little fence around our cherry trees right now for the demolition, but then the long-term vision is let's just cut right through it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. If you just want to hold for a moment, we appreciate you coming forward this evening. You're correct. At the last meeting, the recommendation from council was for it to go to the Advisory Planning Commission. It's a citizen-appointed body, as you may know, and it is to give recommendations. It receives a very detailed report from staff with regards to building guidelines. It's not, council is the body to receive public input. The Advisory Planning Commission is to review it under certain building guidelines and other guidelines. Members of the public are free to attend Advisory Planning Committee meetings, and the Advisory Planning Committee will make its recommendations to council. And so we don't know the exact timing of when the APC's recommendations will come to council. So we encourage you to continue to watch our website for when it does come back to council, and we will have another public participation period to continue the process.
Thank you. I'm just from Victoria, so I know I've participated in their Board of Variance, or their variance sort of committee, where we have as a community, when there's big projects, because my other home is by Glenvine, Norfolk, it's a massive project, and the neighbors were able to organize, and we were able to provide a very consolidated, direct message of what our concerns were around traffic. So it was nice to have that addressed and heard. That's why I'm just making a comment about the advisory. It's not a criticism, it's just we'd like to have a chance to chime in. Thank you.
No, thank you again. I'll call for a second time if anyone is wishing to come forward this evening. And for a third and final time, seeing none, we'll close public participation. Thank you again to everyone for coming forward this evening. We don't have any presentations this evening, and we don't have any development permits or development variance permits. So we're turning to the Mayor's report, and the only item under my report this evening is the CRD board highlights from the February 11th board meeting. And there is one item I wanted to touch on. I think there was 4 items in that report. And that was, something affecting our community because of the Memorial Park Society and the Charlie White Theatre is the alternative approval process requirements for the Performing Arts Facilities Service Bylaw was advanced by the CRD board at that meeting. The CRD board has, at a previous meeting, approved obtaining participating area approval for the entire service area by that AAP process. But in accordance with the community charter, the CRD board is required to receive and confirmed the deadline to receive elector responses for this AAP to be March 30th, 2026. It also established that the total number of eligible electors within the service participating area is 315,000, and that 10% of that number is 31,000 electors. In addition, the board approved a synopsis of the bylaw, the notice of the alternative approval process, the AP communication channels, and the elector response form. So that process is underway now, and when it concludes on March 30th, staff will be bringing a report to a subsequent board meeting for the CRD board to consider adopting that new bylaw, which would then create a new service to come into being in January of 2027. So just a note on the process there, or an update on the process there. I'll turn to colleagues if there are any questions on that item or any other items on the CRD board highlights. Not seeing any, thank you. And we're next turning, we don't have any council reports this evening, so we're turning to committee reports. The first is the minutes from the Emergency Planning Committee of their both their April 2025 and January 25th meeting. Our representative, council representative on that committee, Councillor Novick, is not in attendance this evening, but there were no recommendations. It was for information. I will turn to colleagues if there are any questions from staff on that report. Councillor Garnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to staff, probably through you to the chief, being in attendance this evening. As far as the disaster water supply project, I know we received a pretty substantial grant for that, and we did have discussions back at the time when it was first brought forward that there would be some sort of screening mechanism for the, I think, Rathdown and probably Breathar when it's eventually in the park. I think it's in the parking lot right now. Is there still funding within that confines for that screening, or is that something that might come to council as an extra?
Through the mayor to Councillor Garnett, there are funds remaining through the DRIFT grant, and it's also partially funded through the BC Community Growing Funds. That was originally the original funding source. So we do not anticipate coming back to council for additional funds for screening.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing no further questions or discussion on that, we'll turn to the next item, and that is the Committee of the Whole, under 12B, the Committee of the Whole meeting from March the 2nd. We are receiving the minutes on our agenda this evening. There is no motion on that, and I will turn to Councillor Duck, who is the chair of that meeting, to read in what are, I think, nearly a dozen recommendations. Please pace yourself, Councillor Duck. And if you just want to read from the recommendation, you could start the committee recommends, and I so move, and go straight into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'll start with R1. I so move that owners and tenants in occupation of the property within 75 meters, 246 feet of 10437 All Bay Road be notified regarding development variance application number DV 100388 to reduce the minimum natural boundary setback from 15 meters to 0 meters to allow for the construction of beach access stairs in the rear yard of the subject property, and that any written correspondence be forwarded to council at the time of the consideration of the approval of the variance.
A seconder, please.
Second.
Councillor O'Keefe, any discussion?
I just want to let the people that didn't attend, know this is a replacement of an existing staircase. There's no change to the environment surrounding it or any of the landing pads or anything, just the actual staircase, which has lived beyond its livable life, and they want to replace it with something that's a little more durable. So I think it's a good move.
Thank you. Councillor O'Keefe?
No, I think that covers it.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you.
R2, proposed speed limit adjustments to selected roads recommendation. That the following motion be, I so move that the following motion be referred to future council meetings when traffic and bike use data collection for Bowerbank Bikeway has been brought to council. That the Bowerbank Bikeway corridor speed limit be established at 30 kilometers an hour.
We have a mover.
Second.
Second, Councillor Garnett. Any discussion?
I would just add again that this is I think a wise move, because we need to find out what the current data is for use of that roadway relative to the changes that have been made, and I think it'll be valuable in making an adjustment to the speed on this road, although it may be covered by other such roads. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Garnett. As a seconder, Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you. Just a question through you to staff. We had a letter.
Sorry, microphone again. Sorry, your microphone.
There it is. Thanks.
Few more Wheaties.
Through you to staff. We did have a letter come in about, there's already signs on Bowerbank for, it seems like the speed limit is 30 kilometers, and I drove down there this past weekend and saw that that is the case. So I guess what I'm wondering is this point kind of a moot point, if it already is or is established at 30 kilometers an hour?
Mr. Edwards, please.
Through the mayor to Councillor O'Keefe, it's a matter of the bylaw not recognizing it. in that
Okay.
way, so.
So the signs are up, but it's not in the bylaw?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Duck.
So that raises the question through to staff is, if it is already 30 kilometers an hour and we're waiting for data, what's going to happen when the data comes in? Because if it's already 30, why aren't we just passing this and be done with it?
Through the mayor to the councillor, so there are, as we discussed at the committee of the whole, there are a number of streets that are currently signed at lower limits than what the bylaw specifies. And so we want to make sure that we're consistent with the actual signage and the bylaw. And if council chooses to wait to receive the data on Bowerbank and the bikeway, it may well indicate that there could be something different than what is currently in practice. I would doubt that be the case, but it is entirely possible.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, I'll call the question. Those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you.
Moving on to recommendation number 3, and I so move that the following motion be referred to future council meeting when traffic and bike use data collection for Bowerbank Bikeway has been brought to council. That, I quote, that Resthaven Drive between Mills Road and McDonald Park Road be established at 40 kilometers an hour, unquote.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Garnett. I'll turn to the movers.
Yeah, this was, after some significant discussion, we reached this because of just the ups and downs of speed limits on Resthaven, but to set it at a sort of a steady state through a series of different residential areas. So I think this would be a good idea. Thank you.
Councillor Garnett.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just speaking to the motion, I think the data will help to inform us in that whole area whether or not this is necessary to take place or whether we do need to make adjustments. So thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you.
Moving to recommendation number 4, and I so move that Mills Road East be changed to a local road and the speed limit be established at 30 kilometers an hour.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I'll turn to the movers.
This again was a change because of the difference in the road design up above on Mills Road. And given the number of facilities on this, senior facilities on this road, as well as the daycare on this road, I think it's a good idea to bring this down into that range. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and to echo Councillor Duck's comments, but also to add that this was one street where this was a recurring theme amongst the public in the survey and outside of the survey. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Keefe?
Thank you. My recollection is that we passed this motion on January 26th, so is there a reason was there something different in this? I think it was a January 26th meeting that we voted to change that limit. So,
I would, thank you, Councillor.
or I guess if we do it again, I guess there's no harm.
Well,
It's
I do
covered.
recall the motion which was quoted in the last staff report that we asked staff to bring forward a report with the priority roads for consideration of speed, changes in speed limit signage and other traffic calming measures. So if, I don't want to put Ms. Nelson on the spot in terms of minutes from a previous meeting.
Okay, I guess there's no harm if we do it twice then.
Councillor Garnett.
Yeah, just for clarity, you may be right, but I think we also changed the designation to a local road, which wasn't in the original motion.
Okay, maybe that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you.
Moving to recommendation 5, 6, and 8, I so move that the speed limit for the following roads be established / formalized at 30 kilometers an hour. 1, Berthor Avenue, adjacent to Sydney Elementary School, Vidalea Place, Chicory Place, Cotton Easter Place, Henry Avenue from Resthaven to the highway west of Siddle, Judson Place, Natasha Place, Northbrook Drive between Westbrook and Eastbrook Drive, 7th Street adjacent to the Sydney Elementary School, Simkin Place, and Teal Place.
We have that moved.
Second?
Seconded by Councillor Duncan. Alternative movers?
This was primarily to clean up some discrepancies that existed in the existing bylaw and make sure it's clear, as well as create a safe zone around the school that was 30 kilometers an hour at all hours, representing the use of the school by other parties outside of school hours. So I think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan? Any further, Councillor O'Keefe, please.
Thank you. Although I was originally in favor of this, I'm inclined not to support it this time. When we discussed this, having a sort of targeted approach, I thought that was the best way to go. But once we started identifying a list of streets that would be exceptions, I think it's going to be confusing for the public to have some of these streets, local streets at a lower speed limit than others. Also, when I look at them and the function of those streets as being, neighborhood streets, people are walking on them, kids are playing hockey on the streets. I think that it's hard for me to justify why we wouldn't have the same 30-kilometer speed limit on other streets like Piercy, Malaview, Amelia, those sorts of streets. I know that the traffic survey showed most people did not support changing all limits to 30, but I've since talked to a few people, and there seems, I don't know how extensive it is, but some people seem to have the impression that when we said changing 30 kilometers to all local roads, they thought that applied more broadly. So if this motion were to go ahead, that's fine. If it were to fail, I would propose an alternate that we change the speed limit to all local roads, being those neighborhood roads, to 30 kilometers. Thank you.
Point of order.
Yes, Councillor?
Regardless of the outcome of the motion, would this not be a motion arising because it's applying to a much larger number of roads?
If we get there, that's what it would be.
Thank you.
Councillor Rintoul, please.
So could you clarify by way of process then, if we get there, that's where we would be. So I would assume that if this motion passes, nothing would prevent Councillor O'Keefe from making a motion arising to address all other roads, all other local roads. Is that correct? I just don't want to see us run the risk of having two split votes here.
That's correct.
Okay.
When a motion passes, a motion arising can be on the same matter, but not contradict the motion that has just passed. And so, in the example that Councillor O'Keefe has given, or that you've provided, Councillor, that would not be in contradiction of this motion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Keefe for a second time.
No, so just clarifying the process again, so I could vote for this. So a motion arising, would that be to be dealt with at this meeting, or could
Immediately, I would accept it.
or would it be better to bring it to the next council, a motion arising at a next meeting when there's 7 members?
I would accept it immediately following the last committee of the whole recommendation, because it pertains to the same matter.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Seeing no further discussion, I'll call the question. Those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. Please continue, Councillor.
Moving to recommendation 7 and 9, I so move that the speed limit for the following roads be established / formalized at 20 kilometers an hour. All Bay Road north of Jocelyn Place, Lime Grove, Sandpiper Lane within the Harbour Landing subdivision, and SÍİEM Way within the Harbour Landing subdivision.
We have it moved
Second.
and seconded. I'll turn to the movers.
Again, this is cleaning up some signage that already exists in this area that is demonstrates 20 kilometers an hour, and certainly the nature of the roads there preclude that it should be in that speed limit. So I am in favor of this going forward.
Thank you.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor? And that carries unanimous. Thank you.
Recommendation number 10, I so move that staff be directed to prepare an amendment to the Streets and Traffic Bylaw number 1966 to reflect the approved speed limit changes, and that all speed limit changes from 50 kilometers be listed in the bylaw.
Second?
Moved and seconded. I'll turn to the movers.
I have nothing to add at this time.
Seeing no further discussion, those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you.
Recommendation number 11, I so move that staff be directed to include in the Streets and Traffic Bylaw Amendment new provisions granting the municipal engineer explicit authority to establish school zone and playground zone 30-kilometer-hour areas as outlined in the staff report dated March 2nd, 2026.
Second?
Moved and seconded. I'll turn to the movers.
Nothing to add.
Any other discussion? I'll just note that at committee, and I will again this evening, be opposed to this. I don't doubt staff's competence in managing this. As I spoke at the last meeting, I feel that we have probably made most of the playground and school zone changes that we're going to do in our community, and that I think it would be helpful for this council at the balance of this term, but certainly any future council, to hear back on any bylaw changes regarding speed limits. Seeing no further discussion, I'll call a question. Those in favor? Thank you. Myself is opposed. The motion carries.
And finally, recommendation number 13, and I so move that 12, sorry. 12, sorry, missed one. I so move that staff be directed to proceed with the implementation of signage and related measures after the streets and traffic bylaw changes are formally adopted.
Second.
We have it moved. Councillors?
Nothing to add.
Nothing further?
No, seeing no further discussion, those in favor? That carries unanimous.
And yes, now finally, recommendation number 13, and I so move that council consider establishing Sterling Way at 50 kilometers an hour with a cautionary 40 kilometer an hour sign after consultation with the Victoria Airport Authority.
Second.
Again, moved and seconded. I'll turn to the movers.
Nothing to add.
Nothing, thank you.
Councillor O'Keefe?
Thank you. Just a question. So the motion is that council consider this. So I presume that we're not approving that now, but what we're saying is go and have consultation with the airport, and then staff would come back and we would consider at that time. Is that, okay, great, thank you.
I'm seeing nods all around. Thanks for the question. I'll call the question. All in favor? That carries unanimous. And thank you, Councillor Duck, for taking us through those. Councillor O'Keefe, I'll turn to you for your motion arising, if you wish.
Thank you. So I will move that the speed limit for all local roads in Sydney be set at 30 kilometers an hour.
Second.
Sorry. Sorry, I was going to consider inserting that is not otherwise covered, because we do have roads that are at 20.
Okay.
Sorry, if you could just repeat.
Sure. So that speed limit for all local roads be set at 30 kilometers per hour, except as mentioned otherwise in the street and traffic's bylaw.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Second for discussion.
I'll turn to the mover.
I think I kind of motivated previously when we were discussing the last, the other recommendation, so I don't think I have any more to add.
Councillor Dutt?
I'd like to offer a friendly amendment, and that is that it, rather than saying unless otherwise designated, I would say you want the other designation is 20 kilometers an hour. You don't want roads that are designated more than that already, so.
So,
Sorry, I'm just going to pause for a moment, if I may, and turn to Mr. Murphy, please.
Good evening. If I could suggest lanes, whether they're already designated in the bylaw, I'm not sure, but that could be a designation that's used in the bylaw to separate out from local roads. So we could say other than lanes.
Thank you for that that helpful suggestion. We're aware of the roads map in our OCP that identifies provincial highway, secondary highway, arterial collector, and local roads. Is there a definition, or do we have a map that indicate lanes? I'm just wondering if we put that amendment in here, how do we know what lanes are, or which?
We don't have a defining map identifying lanes, but there is a construction standard for laneways, and so.
Sorry, turning back to either you, Mr. Edwards, or Mr. Murphy, could that be addressed, not necessarily a change in the map, but addressed through the streets and traffic bylaw that would be updated?
To the chair, my suggestion would be that they may, if I take a few minutes, might be able to check the streets and traffic bylaw. They might already be defined as lanes, but if not, then since we're updating the bylaw, there is a definition for lanes, so that we can simply refer to that.
Okay, so I would ask the movers to accept a friendly amendment. Sorry, Ms. Nelson, if you could read the motion back.
That the speed limit for all local roads in Sydney be set at 30 kilometers per hour, except as mentioned otherwise in the streets and traffic bylaw.
Okay, so after the word accept lanes.
Except lanes.
I'm seeing a nod from Mr. Murphy. Mr. Murphy?
If we could potentially also consider establishing lanes at 20 kilometers per hour as part of this process. That was going to be another, in our discussions, looking at the recommendations from committee, et cetera, we realized just in the last week that there are lanes in the town that aren't included in the amendments that we're discussing right now. So it might be recommended to establish lanes as a category at 20 kilometers per hour, and then consider as you will what to do with local roads.
Okay, thank you. So we could do a couple of things here, but I'll have a question. We could have a second part to this motion arising, and that lanes have a speed limit of 20K. Or we could have a separate motion arising. I'm going to suggest that it just be a second part to this motion, but before I seek movers for that amendment, my question is that with all of these other changes that we're doing, we're naming the roads. We're naming the streets, and we're not doing that by saying lanes at 20K. The lanes at 20K would be identified in the traffic bylaw as per a previous motion in our group of motions this evening?
To the chair, so certainly can do that. Absolutely, we can list out the lanes, and so that there is a list, and I think, but also having a blanket 20 kilometers over the definition of lane could also be helpful.
Okay, so I'm going to seek movers, a first and seconder, for an amendment to the motion for a second part, and that lanes have a speed limit of 20K.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, those in favor? That carries unanimous. On further discussion on the motion, main motion as amended. Councillor Duncan first, and Councillor Gurnett. Would you like the motion read back?
Yeah, this is the main motion is to designate all local roads as 30 kilometers an hour unless otherwise posted as a lane that's 20 kilometers. I guess this is, no, because that's now broken out.
Actually,
so it's just all local roads are 30 kilometers an hour?
Sorry, I don't know where you're going, but if I may interject for a moment, I've just thought of something, and that is, we may have members who are opposed to 30K on all the other roads, but not opposed to 20K on lanes. So I am going to separate the two. Is that understood? And you might have been going to that point?
Yes, that was my first point, because I feel that one would be not very controversial. 20 kilometers an hour. However, I fear that the original motion of the 30 kilometers an hour for local roads was essentially what we took out as our proposal to the public when we did our public feedback, and the public feedback was quite negative on that. And so again, I had the similar feeling with changing Rest Haven's speed limit for a larger area than outside of that defined area in front of the park, for the similar reason that this would look like we went to the public, asked their opinion, said, oh, it's good, you didn't like that, and then backtracked on it and did it anyway. And I think that might be a bad look, and that doing this piecemeal where half of these roads were actually already have these speed limits in place, and have been put in piecemeal in place, so people are already used to them. This isn't going to be a change that confuses people, because that's what they already are. Whereas the local roads, all of them being changed to 30, was going to require an extensive re-signing campaign. We had to come up with options that we went out to the public with which are the best options, that would make it understandable if we did this. It becomes a very much larger project with a much bigger budget item and staff work involved, and it was rejected by the public. And so I would not feel good about approving this at this time, even though I was in favor of it. I think because we did that process, we could not do that now.
Okay, I'll turn to Councillor Gurnett next for a first time.
Thank you, Mayor. And just to be clear, I am speaking to the 30 kilometer an hour, not the lanes.
Yes,
Yes.
we
Okay.
have two separate motions. We're
Perfect.
speaking to the first
I
one.
just want
on
to make
30.
sure I'm speaking along the right line. I did get kind of lost in amongst that for a while. So through you to staff and specifically Ms. Judson, just to make sure my clarification and my understanding is correct of the survey asked that very question, that 30 kilometers an hour on all local roads was the question. There were over 1,000 respondents. 66%, I believe, were against it, and there were maps attached to show quite clearly what roads we were talking about. So I'm not sure why there would have been confusion. It seemed to be through all the 1,329 comments or 92 comments, whichever it was, that they were pretty sure they were talking to what they were speaking to. So I think, and one of the reasons I spoke at length why I thought 30 kilometers makes the community safer, but I also spoke to the fact that we look for survey results and our residents weigh in. We have to respect those, and not necessarily always, but in this case it was pretty overwhelming. So I supported us moving off of it into what we've moved to, into designated areas that staff feel are most in need of it. And so I'm quite confused as to why the question's coming again, given that the conversation seemed to indicate when we were having it that others didn't want a blanket approach. So I'm not sure. I don't see the confusion from people in the community because the maps were quite clear what roads we were talking about. So and there were comments subsequent to our decisions that night, rightly or wrongly, that indicated that people felt we would backdoor our way to doing this. So this would be giving them validity, and I'm really concerned that that's not the way we want to approach this. So I won't support the motion. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gannett. Councillor O'Toole, next, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I concur with the observations that Councillor Duncan and Councillor Garnett have made. I'll preface that by stating that at previous meetings we have had discussions on local roads at 30K. It has been surveyed. You're correct. But then this evening we've gone ahead and changed at least 12, by my count, 12 roads to 30 kilometers an hour on the simply on the understanding that we're making these particular roads safer by reducing the speed on them. And so I get that the community expressed concern. I appreciate that there was a map included with that survey. I think a lot of the feedback that came in, was around roads like Resthaven. Resthaven isn't a local road. It's not a road that would be reduced to 30K in this. I'm somewhat comfortable with making the change on local roads to 30K, and I feel like I've advocated for it over both terms on council. But I also predict that this is maybe headed to a split vote and might not matter in that sense at any rate, that the motion would fail. So I'll continue to listen to my colleagues, but I'm frankly comfortable with 30K on local roads, and I think we've evidenced that by the number of changes we've already approved this evening to change speeds on local roads to 30K. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll speak as the sixth member and then go to second-time speakers. I'll speak for a first time. Sorry? Sorry, you were the seconder?
He moved it and he hasn't spoken to it.
Go ahead.
So I will continue to support this motion. One of my challenges is that I think, how do we inform the public the difference between Mills Road and Bradford, or Bradford and Amelia, or Orchard? These are local roads that are hard to go 50K on, and I think as in previous discussions, most people don't go that speed limit. But I think the idea is that we demonstrate that what the acceptable speed on these roads should be because of safety concerns. That's one of the reasons we changed Mills Road to 30K, because of our concerns of safety there. The other thing is we have, as Councillor O'Toole mentioned, passed a number of roads to this segment, and there are already existing roads out there. And I feel like this is like spot zoning. I feel like we're just picking certain roads that we're going to put at 30K when there's no difference between, as I said, between Mills and Bradford, Mills and Malaview. And I think getting some uniformity in that will communicate to the residents what we consider is safe on a road that is a residential road off an arterial or collector. And I think it's important to have some uniformity in that so that people know when they're not on one of those feeder roads that this is the acceptable speed limit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Speaking for a first time, I won't support this motion, and different parts to my motivation. One is that if we go back some 30 years to 1995 and years after that, we started implementing in an intentional way road safety in our community. We changed a major portion of Beacon Avenue from two-way to one-way. We doubled the sidewalks. And we lowered the speed limit in the entire downtown area, bordered by Sydney Avenue, Bevan, and all the side streets to 30K. I don't know if it was in place before with the old Silver Threads building, but when the new Shoal Centre was built, it was 30K through there for both the Shoal Senior Centre and the library. And since that time, there's All Bay Road, a section of All Bay Road that is 30K. I don't have all the roads before me, but the roads Northbrook, between Westbrook and Eastbrook, those have been 30K. So I'm not even making reference to the school zones and playgrounds. I'm talking about 30K on other local roads that we have put in place over the last 30 years. And the first one that we were considering through this process was Mills Road. And it was the community that came forward with regards to Mills Road. We know what the density of senior care facilities is along there, what the parking challenge is, and the bus route, and so we were making a decision, as we made as previous councils had made many times, in changing a particular road for safety reasons to 30K. So I think we're being responsible in terms of the process where we're identifying concerns that have come out of the survey and recommendations from staff. The other side of this is that in terms of numbering the number of roads, 11 roads that we're changing to 30 and that sort of thing, what we did is we started from, the starting point was that for Sydney Elementary, a limited portion of Henry and, Henry and 7th were school zones, but they were from 8 till 5. And what we've done is we've made them 24 hours. And in doing, and we've taken a piece of Breather that's adjacent to Sydney Elementary, and I think we've taken Henry from Resthaven to 7th. Wasn't. So what we're doing is we're going ahead and we're tightening up, if you will, the safety around the Sydney Elementary School zone. Well, while we were in that discussion, we noted that there are 2 or 3, forgive me for not knowing the exact number, of cul-de-sacs that are off Henry. And so the recommendation came to do the cul-de-sacs off Henry. We're not taking another street off in the middle of the community somewhere as a standalone. It's adjacent to that corridor. And similarly with Mills. For good reason, we made Mills, and so we took the cul-de-sac or cul-de-sacs on Mills to do that. So I don't think we're creating confusion. We've gone through this process for 30 years, and I think we're taking a deliberate and intentional approach to improving safety. I think the survey is important information for us in terms of 2/3 of the community not approving a blanket approach, because all local roads are not the same. I'll leave my motivation there and turn to any second-time speakers if they have anything new to say. Councillor Duck.
Yeah, so using that logic, we did not include Siddle or Pleasant Street, which both feed onto Mills Road. So should we be extending to that? And by extension of that, should we then be motivating our neighbors on the varying streets to bring forward discussion of those streets they live on, whether it's Bradford or Orchard or whatever, to motivate council to make those changes to their street if they feel that the safety concerns are at risk there. So those are 2 observations I have just coming out of that. Thank you.
Well, the streets that we did change, All Bay Road changed years ago because of the concerns of the residents on that street. So there's an example. Mills Road is changing because it was brought to, the concerns of the residents were brought from that street. We haven't had concerns with many of the other local roads brought to our attention from the residents on those particular streets. Seeing no further discussion, I'll turn to call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Duncan, Councillor Gurnett, and myself are opposed. The motion is defeated. So that is considering the motion, that first motion arising. The second motion arising is to consider. Sorry, we have the second part of the motion with regards to lanes. Could you read that portion back, Ms. Nelson, please?
That the speed limit for lanes be established at 20 an hour.
Thank you. That's on the floor. Yep. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. Any other discussion on this topic? Seeing none, we're going to turn to section 13, staff reports. And the first we have under 13A is the review of the proposed volunteer engagement from Friends of Sydney Parks. I'll turn to Mr. Murphy for an introduction of your report, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this item is to present staff's review and recommendations of the Friends of Sydney Parks proposal. And so want to thank Joan in attendance and Friends of Sydney Parks for the proposal. And so staff have reviewed the proposal, in particular the request for Friends of Sydney Parks to operate under the town's insurance. And so we consulted with MIABC, and that is possible. That is a feasible arrangement. The requirements are that town staff, to a light extent, supervise the work of the society, and with that being more defined as being present for orientations and being available to respond to incidents if there are any. So we feel that's achievable. We propose that staff attend the first session of each month for a brief period of time, and then do a slightly longer orientation when the society is moving to a new park area. And then there's some requirements, again, a request from the society that park staff pick up the materials and dispose of the materials that are collected through the society's efforts. And again, we feel that should be reasonably achievable as an add-on to regular activities. And so overall, staff's review is positive, and we feel the arrangement should be workable. We would like to propose starting with a one-year trial period, just to be sure that everyone's on the same page and the arrangement is working out as anticipated. And as the speaker talked about where to begin the efforts, and so we're still very open to that conversation. We're not fixated on the parks that are listed in the report, and that's not part of one of the recommendations. So that's totally, it stays as an operational discussion, and we're happy to coordinate with the society for where it makes the most sense for them to commence their efforts.
Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Murphy. I'll turn to colleagues and begin with Councillor O'Toole, then Councillor Gannett, then Councillor O'Keefe, then Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mayor. And thanks to staff. I'll echo the comments from the presenter. Thanks to staff for bringing this back so promptly. I assume because we worked through you, Mayor, to staff, because we've worked with the Green Team and other volunteer organizations on municipal properties, that this, through the lens of any collective agreements, is on side in terms of proceeding. I don't think that lens is addressed in here, so I just wanted to confirm with staff that they're comfortable with that.
Through the chair to Councillor O'Toole, so yes, this would be seen as additional activities, so is not impacting the existing workforce in any way.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for the question. Councillor Gannett.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of questions.
Microphone, please.
Keeps coming on and off. Having the same problem. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Through you to staff. Bullet point 5 under background participation outline requests including participation in park planning, program input, and public engagement initiatives. What do you envision that potentially looking like?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, under bullet point 5, under background, the submission outlines requests including participation in park planning, program input, and public engagement initiatives. Just want some clarity on what that might look like.
Through the mayor to Councillor Garnett, so that's that was a bullet in the society's proposal, so they may be better positioned to speak to it. We don't foresee anything more than collaboration. Okay. And like I say, at the orientation to a new park work area, that would be a collaborative discussion. Where would they work? What activities would they be focusing on? And then public engagement to me speaks more to the call for volunteers and talking about the good work they're doing. And so we know the society plans to make efforts in publicizing their work, and then the town will also promote the work of the society as it makes sense as well.
Great. And one last question. On page 3 is talking about the $6,000 a year in the budget, parks budget, for the working with the Greater Victoria team for invasive plant renewal. I just want to confirm that, because typically 2 weeks before Tree Appreciation Day, there's an invasive pull in whatever area they're doing, and then on the day of the tree planting, there's another invasive pull. I just want to make sure that wouldn't impact in any way the budget for the Tree Appreciation Day.
Through the mayor to Councillor Garnett. So yes, I think that's something we'd like to take the 1-year trial period, is to figure out the future of how we use the green team, or do we scale them back? And so there's no initial plans to change anything for this year, at least. And then I would see it becoming part of the report back to council after the 1-year trial period, with recommendations on how we move forward, what we adjust, what we change. And with the funding, that $6,000 that's currently allocated for the green team, we could look at all or nothing or anywhere in between, right? A recommendation on how to scale back or where to reallocate.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thanks
for the questions. Councillor O'Keefe?
Thank you. A few things. Just first of all, would we be planning to have some sort of MOU or agreement with them before going? Okay, I see a nod. That's good. Yeah, because actually building on Councillor Garnett's point about the bullet about participation in park planning, program input, public engagement, they might have a different understanding of what that might be than we might have. So it's good to hear that would be clarified.
Through the mayor to Councillor O'Keefe. So yes, the second recommendation speaks to establishing a volunteer program framework, which will
would include all of those other things. Okay, good. In regards to the financial aspect, so the $6,000 a year that we already allocate for other green team and other things, and you mentioned that it could potentially be redirected to fund tool replacement and expansion. So would there be room in that $6,000 to fund the new tools for the coming season? Or would we have to come up with other funds?
Through the mayor to Councillor O'Keefe. So the 6,000 is allocated on paper for this year's green team activities. So to reallocate any of those funds, we would have to reduce what's planned for this year's green team activities.
Sorry, I'll just turn to Mr. Edwards for a moment.
Thank you, Mayor. And to Councillor O'Keefe's question, the society, the Friends of Sydney's Park, is also submitted an application for grants and aid. I believe it was for $1,200 for the possible purchase of some equipment. But they also have formed a strong relationship with the Friends of North Saanich Park Society, who I believe is represented here tonight. And And they are willing to also assist with some tool loaning as the new society gets
Okay.
underway.
Right, okay, that's great. Thank you. And I understand from the report that it would be staff, through you, Mayor, to staff, that our staff would be determining what invasive species and what parks and when and where to do it. Right. One question I have, though, is in regards to the what's considered invasive Himalayan blackberries. And I see that you're going to be starting with Rathdown Park. So a lot of people go to Rathdown Park and other places around the town to pick those berries. So are we talking about completely getting rid of those things?
Are
or-
we getting in the weeds, Councillor Thier?
Well, no, I just,
We need to do some weeding here. Sorry. It is a good question, though. And that's where we'll need to create a plan together. And because there are some places where what are determined as invasives actually can be seen as beneficial. And so
Yeah.
you need to be a little bit discerning about where and when you take action. So, and that'll be part of the planning and the collaborative work.
okay, good. So yes, I know it's getting into the weeds, literally. But I think having the some opportunity for the community maybe to provide comment on those sorts of things. Yeah, and I guess I would just, I'm not sure where the green team fits in, but I would hate to see them kind of fall off the involvement. They were the ones that first came with us with this plan, and maybe they don't have as much capacity, so I'm hoping that we can still continue to keep them involved as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Duck, please.
Actually, Mr. Edwards answered my question because in the first presentation by the society, they talked about tool sharing with the Friends of North Saanich Park. So I'm just, advocate that we try and see it's a great sharing opportunity, and shared services are always good. And if there are no other questions, I'm prepared to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor. I do have a question. So my question is, in the second part, it says that a volunteer program framework will be done. That program framework, will that be specific to Friends of Sydney Park?
To the mayor, so yes, that would be specific to this program. Everything that's outlined in the staff report here, and anything else we can think of, like blackberries and whatnot, but yes, specific for this program.
Okay, no, thank you. And it's not something, I'm not going down the path of, it should be something that council sees that's operational, and we appreciate that, and that it's available to Friends of Sydney Parks. Seeing no other questions, I'll turn to Councillor Duck.
The recommendation is, and I so move, that council endorse staff's recommended approach to supporting the Friends of Sydney Parks volunteer initiatives under staff oversight as outlined in the report on a one-year trial basis. 2, that staff be directed to proceed with establishing a volunteer program framework, including safety orientation, oversight protocols, and administrative processes consistent with the MIABC guidance and within existing staffing and budget resources. And 3, that staff be directed to report back to council following the one-year trial period with an assessment of the program and a recommendation on whether to continue, modify, or discontinue the arrangement.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I'll turn to the movers.
I think we've had a good discussion on it. I think I'd like to see this move ahead. I think it's wonderful, and certainly we'll support our parks staff in keeping our parks accessible and enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gannett.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Summer, for coming this evening. And thank you to the people who have formed this Friends of Sydney Parks. I often see the North Saanich one working in the area where I live, and I think it's a great initiative. It's great that community members want to give back in this way. And our parks, our staff are overburdened a lot of the time, so the little things like this make a big difference. And the blackberries and Daphne and English ivy, I've been on a few of these, and they're the ones that are typically noted. because they do have a dramatic effect on the ability of the native species to grow for various reasons, and that's why they're normally taken out. But I just thank you for having the vision to try to do something like this and make a difference. It's something that unless you go through a park, you won't notice. But for those of us who go through parks basically every day of the week, I will notice it greatly. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing no further discussion, I'll turn the call to question. All those in favor? And that carries unanimous. Thank you so much. And congratulations. We're going to next turn to item 13B, a renewal of the fire services agreement with Victoria Airport Authority. I'll turn to Chief Mickelson, please. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The staff report before you recommends renewal of the fire services agreement with the Victoria Airport Authority for a 5-year term, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'll turn to colleagues. Councillor O'Keefe to start.
Thank you, through you, Mayor, to staff. And maybe you've probably told us before, but reminder. So in cases when our firefighters get called out under a mutual aid agreement, do we pay for that, or do we get reimbursed on the financial side?
Through the Mayor to Councillor O'Keefe, the concept of mutual aid, whether it be with Central Saanich, North Saanich, or the BAA, is that it's mutually beneficial. So it's the provision of services is reciprocated. There's definitely periods of time where the weighting of services provided is perhaps a little lopsided, but when you look at the amount of services that are provided over a longer term, 12 to 18 months, typically it's, over at least my experience with our 3 mutual aid partners, it's quite equitable, and that's the basis we move forward on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, if we could have a mover of the recommendation, Councillor Gannett.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move the recommendation that a 5-year renewal of the fire services agreement with the Victoria Airport Authority be approved.
Second.
Alternative movers. Thank you to the Chief for bringing it forward, and I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion carries unanimous. Returning to item 13C, a request for road closures and use of parks, the 2026 community events for the Peninsula Celebrations Society. I'll turn to Mr. Demare for introduction, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report brings forward the Peninsula Celebrations annual request for road closures and use of town property for the 2026 community events. The events include Sydney Days, the Summer Sounds Concert Series, Treat Street, Sparkles Parade, and the Polar Bear Swim. As you've noted in the report and discussed earlier by Ms. Stevens, there's 2 new events being proposed this year under the PCS umbrella, that being the Remembrance Day ceremony. They've been requested through the Royal Canadian Legion to assist and take over the event, to organize it. So that's good to see, as well as the proposed additional event after the Sparkles Parade, the tree lighting and mingle event. That's generally the events have gone off very well, and we have one really new event with the lighting event that's sort of new for the town. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for the shorter recommendation and with a large part of the content in the staff report. Councillor Gannett.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to staff, and this may be a question more, and I see Mr. Hisseck's online. When I look at the staff report and also at the letter dated November 14th, 2025 from Peninsula Celebration Society, it indicates one-time funding. And when I was referring, it triggered with me when I went back to look at our budget. Our budget indicates a $5,000 ongoing supplemental item. So I'm just curious, should it be a one-time request under supplemental, or is it going to be something that's every year?
Through the chair to Councillor Garnett, yes, it was an error on my part. It should be a one-time request, not ongoing at this point, and that'll be corrected for the next meeting.
Great, thank you very much. Thanks for the clarification. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Duck.
If I may, a question through to staff. Within the staff report, it indicates the holiday tree lighting mix and mingle, item F, is to run from 3 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. But in the request, and certainly through the presentation tonight, the indication was 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. So I'm just looking for clarification of which it is to be. I'm assuming it's to be the latter, which is just following the parade 2.5 hours, just to be sure of that. Thank you.
Through the mayor to Councillor Duck. Yeah, we'd make sure that that's appropriately coordinated between the events to ensure the time is correct. I would just point out that the event that it's being on private property technically doesn't need a council approval, or unless there's specific road closures, but in this case, they're just looking for some traffic management.
Thank you. Please continue. I have a question, but you're
Yeah,
going to ask it.
Yeah, I think so, yeah, thank you for that answer, and I appreciate that, but that does raise a supplementary question. If this is on private property, how do we come to be funding a function on private property?
I might turn to Mr. Hisik on that question. Or other staff?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, can I have that clarified, please?
Absolutely.
So, as staff just directed, and we have an line item in the budget currently for $5,000 for a one-time funding of this event. The event is being held on private property on the Mary Winspear Center, and I'm just seeking clarification for the town's ability to fund a function on private property. Thank you.
The way I see this request, it's a request from Peninsula Celebrations, not Mary Winspear. So in my mind, we're funding this community partner for an event, regardless of where it might be.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. My question was answered. I'll look for a mover of the recommendation. Councillor Rintoul.
Thank you. I'll move that the Peninsula Celebration Society's request for road closures and use of parks for their 2026 special events be approved, and that noise regulations that may restrict these events be waived, subject to the following conditions. One, that PCFs obtain approval from the arts. Am I doing it again?
You are. That was all good, right?
I was only moving it so I get to read it.
Subject to.
So I'm now referring to the agenda and the recommendation. Yeah, I've got it.
Subject to the conditions.
That the Peninsula Celebration Society's request for road closures and use of the parks for their 2026 special events be approved, and that noise regulations that may restrict these events be waived, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report dated March 9th, 2026.
Alternative movers?
Thank you. And I'll echo the mayor's earlier comments. Thank you for making it easier for us, even if I tried to bypass that. Yeah, my support obviously for the events and for the work that PCS does is certainly unwavering and appreciative. I recognize that the budget request item is a separate discussion and something for deliberation another evening, but I certainly support the events that are proposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And we're turning to item 13D, use of parks request. I'll turn back to Mr. Demare, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report brings forward two events, public events held by two different organizations that require council approval. And the first being the Shaw Center for the Salish Seas annual World Oceans Day at Beacon Park, scheduled for Sunday, June 7th, as well as the Communities Art Council to host the Salish Sea Lantern Festival at Beacon Park on Saturday, August 22nd. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions on this item? Seeing none. Councillor Duck?
I'm prepared to move the recommendation that one, the Shaw Center for the Salish Sea World Oceans Day event on June 7th, 2026 at Beacon Park and Glass Beach, including the use of amplification, be approved. And two, the Community Arts Council Salish Sea Lantern Festival event on August 22nd, 2026 at Beacon Park, Bevan Fishing Pier, and Eastview Park, including the use of amplification, be approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I would just say that I've attended both these events in the last year, and they're very well attended by the public, and I see this as being, both these organizations bring a couple of very unique events to this community, and well celebrated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Seeing no discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. We don't have any items under 14 correspondence for discussion by council. We're receiving 4 items under correspondence for information by virtue of being on our agenda. We have no notices of motion. We're going to 17, motion to go on camera, and I'll turn to Councillor Gannett, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that it is in the opinion of council that the public interest requires that persons other than the members of the council and officers be excluded from the meeting to consider confidential matters regarding personal information about an identifiable individual who's being considered for a position appointed by the municipality pursuant to section 90.1A of the community charter, and that council continue the meeting in closed session.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Motion carries. We'll recess for 5 minutes and resume in camera at 7:20, please.